My next game review is going to be a game on the Ricochet label, originally released by Martech and then released by Ricochet a few years later, and it's called Brian Jack's Superstar Challenge. Let's take a look at the packaging then, and we've got quite a nice front cover which is a derivative of the original artwork for the original release of the game. Lots of stars there, and Brian Jack's presumably doing lots of energetic things, riding a bike, canoeing and something on some poles, not quite sure what that is. And in this little box here it says, winning's not the most important thing, it's the only thing. Which just makes me think Brian Jack's children, if he had any, must have had a really unpleasant time as kids if they weren't very good at sport. Anyway, moving on. On the spine it doesn't say Brian Jack's Superstar Challenge, it just says Superstar Challenge, which does present a quandary as to where this actually goes when stacking the games up alphabetically. Not a major quandary, admittedly. Repetition on the back there of Brian Jack's slogan. And Brian Jack's challenges you to these 8 events. Arm dips. Sounds thrilling. Squat thrusts. Something I've always wanted to play in a computer simulation. And then more familiar sporting event things like canoeing, cycling, football, swimming, archery and 100 metres. And as we look inside the packaging, we've got a picture there of Brian Jack's, world famous judo and TV superstars champion, and he said this better be good, and you don't want to argue with him, it seems. And the result is one of the most exciting, addictive and challenging games you'll ever attempted. Well, we'll wait and see about that. Once again, arm dips and squat thrusts doesn't really sound very exciting to me, but there you go. And moving inside the packaging in a ridiculously small font is all the instructions of how to play each game, each event I should say. And something particular to note at the top there, the Commodore 64 versions of swimming, canoeing, running, etc. incorporate power sync. This means that the rate at which you move the joystick from side to side to build up power must be synchronized to the screen action. That sounds complicated. So it's not just a waggle the joystick, but waggle the joystick at a certain rate. Should be interesting. Anyway, it also has the instructions for the Spectrum version and also the BBC Micro and Electron version in this for some reason, and that's it. So here we have Brian Jack's Superstar Challenge title screen with lots of stars. As it says there, it was originally created or published by Martech and written by H.G.J. Ellis and Gary York. And the only options on the main menu are, if you push up and down the joystick, you can have a 1 or 2 player game. Obviously I'm going to be playing a 1 player game, and that will be played against a computer. Wish me luck. So you get a scoreboard, there are 8 events and you get a score for each event, and the idea is to beat the computer to get the opportunity to play again against Brian Jack's himself. And the first event is canoeing. So here's canoeing. And what I found with this one, and you'll hear a lot of noise of the joystick being waggled around during this review, what I found with this one is the best approach is to rotate the joystick to get up to speed and then just waggle it like crazy, which worked quite well when I tried before but isn't working. Oh, here we go, I'm catching up now. So you can hear the joystick waggling like crazy. It may well be broken at the end of by the end of this review. I've just sneaked into the lead and just sneaked it right at the end there. So there was no sound effects whatsoever there, and no real indication of when you're going to reach the end of the course or indeed when you cross the finish line. The thing just stops. Graphically it looked quite good. Sound, as I say, non-existent, and some of the markers as to how well you're doing would also be nice. But I did win that, I didn't win that according to that. He beat me. How is that possible when I beat him to the end of the course? I was red, by the way. That's a bit frustrating. Anyway, moving on. And the next round is the archery round, or boar shoot as it's described here. And the idea here is that you control this crossbow. This is the computer's go now. I've just missed my first shot because it came so quickly. And you've got to shoot the target on the side of the boar and get as many points as possible. And the computer's ridiculously good at this. He's just got a bullseye. So it's my turn again. You get 5 goes. So I've got a hit at least. This is my board on this side. And he hit 2 bullseyes so far, which is just a joke. I've got no chance of matching that. The best I can do is just try and get some points. So I got a white that time, whatever that means. At least I'm getting some points on the board. That's 3 bullseyes now. You can't even tell he's got 3 bullseyes because they're all so perfect. Ridiculous. I'm just struggling to even hit the target, let alone get close to the bullseye. That's 4 bullseyes then, I guess, based on his target readout. This is my last go. And again, I got a hit, but not a very good one. So there are some sound effects there of the arrow hitting the target, and graphically again it's quite nice, bit blocky and basic, but not a bad little event on that one. I got 180 points there, whereas he got 680, which was pretty good for him. So the next event, as you can see, is 100 meters running. This is another joystick waggler, so let's see how we get on with this one. Again, not much in the way of sound effects. Well, actually, you sound like a train on this. I seem to be running away with this one, literally. Yeah, I've won that one. That's nice. Again, nice graphics on that. Good animation of the guys running, and nice big sprites as well. No indication of where the start and end of the race are again, and also it's a bit strange that they start at the right hand side of the screen, and if you're lagging behind, you go a bit further back across. It's a bit different to the usual sort of track and field view of things, but there you go. So I won that one for definite. I got 777 points and he got 760. Next up we've got squat thrusts, which sounds exciting, I'm sure you'll agree, and it's incredibly hard work, just like real squat thrusts, I suppose. So this is a quite unique original event, at least. My opponent scored 81. He got 81 squat thrusts in 60 seconds. I can assure you I won't get close to that. So here's the view of the gym, and off we go. And the way you do a squat thrust is to push the joystick left 3 times and then right 3 times. And I found the tactic is just to use your fingers on one side of the top of the joystick and your thumb on the other. But you soon get worn out. Halfway through I usually have to swap hands because I get absolutely shattered doing this. It is a joke. Games aren't meant to be this hard work. As you can see, I'm doing rubbish. And I've just swapped hands. If you don't do a full squat thrust each time, it doesn't count. So you really got to make sure you hit the joystick 3 times to the left and 3 times to the right. And you can probably hear I'm getting out of breath, which is ridiculous for sitting down playing a computer game. Again, the animation is quite nice, the graphics are quite nice, no sound. You should have the sound of him breathing heavily by this point, I would have thought. And I got 49. which was quite challenging to say the least. So next we move on to swimming, and swimming is very much like the hypersport swimming before we get started, wherein you've got to breathe periodically, but the only thing that tells you you've got to breathe is a little beep, and that's the only noise in the game once again in this event. So and it's pretty much a joystick waggler other than that, so it's waggle the joystick and press the button every time you hear a beep. As with the others, you start at the front. Got no idea if I'm catching this guy up. Oh, I am catching up. Oh no, he'd already finished, so I'm going to lose that one. Yeah, that was rubbish. As you can see, I've got no chance of beating the computer at this. And next up comes the very peculiar arm dips, and I just don't get this one at all, but I'll give it a go. Again, my opponent scored 87. I'll be lucky to score 7. And what you have to do is press the fire button to drop down and then waggle the joystick to go back up as quickly as you can. But you've got to drop below the judge's, below the judge's fist, and if you drop too low it's just game over, as you just saw. So I got 2, which is absolute garbage. Right, so next up we've got football, and the idea of this one is you've got 90 seconds to dribble around 3 cones and then have a shot at goal. It's a bit of joystick waggling and also a bit of manoeuvring, and then you've got to sort of direct whether you want to hit the ball left, right or straight on at the goal. There is a goalkeeper as well. Apparently the goalkeeper's controlled by the second player when you play a 2-player game. So let's give it a go. My opponent got 2 goals in 90 seconds, so that's what I'm aiming for. Let's see how I get on. Oh! Hey, scored! So that's how you do it. As you can see, there was no target. When you reach the goals, it's just basically hit and hope. Oh, see, now I hit the cone, I don't get to have that go. I've got one more chance, I think. I think the most you get is 3 goes usually. Oh, he saved it. Gutted. Well, at least I scored 1. And actually somehow, despite only scoring 1 goal, I beat him at that. Peculiar scoring system, to say the least. And last up we have cycling, which so far in all my previous goes of the game I've won every time, so that's probably the kiss of death. In cycling you can actually change gear up and down by pressing fire button and pushing up and down, except there's no indication of what gear you're in, as you'll see in a second. Once again, it just seems to be a joystick waggler. So I think I'm in 3rd gear, but to be honest I've got no clue, and it doesn't really seem to matter. The computer just seems to be rubbish at the cycling. I think it's just to make you feel better after losing the preceding 7 events. So you just waggle away again, no indication of how much further you've got to go. There are these little numbers on the side of the track, but I don't know what number it's supposed to go up to. I think he might be catching me up a bit, so I better waggle a bit harder, if you pardon the expression. Oh, and there you go, I've reached the end, but you can't really tell because there was no finish line. And there you go, he's caught me up. He'll probably give him more points now. No, I thrashed him. 759 points for me and 397 for him. So I've ended up about 1,300 points behind the computer, and that's it, that's the end. And you get a podium, which I'm on in 2nd place, It also then lists all the events. The record is there, and then the scores that the two players got, which, as you can see, mine aren't particularly good in general. I don't know why there's a third place on the podium, because you can't have 3 players on the game anyway. At least there's a bit of music playing on this bit. So that's pretty much it. Not much point going through it again. With the exception of the arm dips, most of the events are quite playable. I imagine it would actually be quite good fun as a 2-player game. You would get knackered playing it, especially doing the squat thrusts. But yeah, it's not bad. Definitely, I would say, worth the $1.99. Rock hard against the computer, and you've got no chance of ever beating the computer and getting into the round where you play against Brian Jack, so I imagine it's even more difficult. But all the same, not a bad game. Graphics are pretty cool all the way through. Sound pretty mediocre with the exception of this little tune. So that's your lot, really. I'm going for a rest now.